Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. It is March 14th, 2024. Let's talk boxing. We're going to be a little bit vague and ambiguous here. It's an overview video. We'll talk about some big people in the sport. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, let's just point out a few things here. There's been a big shift. Folks, it's a big shift in the line for the Tyson Fury Alexander Usyk fight that may have made some winners of some gamblers already. Now, as we've been saying here online for a while, Usyk has been the betting side of the play. Right? Let's be clear here. Usyk feasts on bigger, clunkier, not as coordinated opponents. That's his game. He actually has more of an advantage at heavyweight than he did at cruiserweight. Right? You want some tough Usyk fights? Look at the Maris Briedis Usyk fight at cruiser. Right? Understand, at cruiser, guys could move with him. At cruiser, the guys themselves were accustomed to more coordinated opponents. Now at heavyweight, we're in a big clunky heavyweight era. You have a lot of guys at heavyweight who don't move as well as they could. Right? This isn't a Ali, Larry Holmes era where even sluggers could get up on their toes and move a little bit. No, this is a slugger era. This is the era where people watched Lennox Lewis, people watched Vladimir Klitschko, people watched Vitaly Klitschko. Then they grew up and they thought, hey, if I'm 6'4", if I'm 6'5", which is big, huge, by historical heavyweight standards, and if I stay in shape, and if I throw hard punches, and if I can knock out an opponent, I can be heavyweight champ. It's into that division that you have an Usyk, who, of course, can move better than Tyson Fury. In other words, Tyson Fury's real calling card, they both love the same type of opponent. Tyson Fury's real calling card was being able to show us that Vladimir Klitschko couldn't move like him. Right, folks? That's a more destabilizing fight for a Klitschko than, let's say, Anthony Joshua's victory over Klitschko, where Klitschko's actually landing big punches, knocks Joshua down. Right? Understand, against Tyson Fury, Klitschko's feet look like they're in a sandbox. He can't move. He's methodically beaten. We're talking about his comeback in the 12th round. Think about the first 11. So if you grabbed Usyk, and tell us if you did in the comment section of this video, right? These videos don't operate in isolation. You can actually get commentary here in the comment section that's contemporaneous. So as the video ages, you know what the crowd was doing. Tell us in the video what odds you got Usyk. If you got Usyk at a plus 130 or higher, which is where he was early when this fight came out, understand now you can drop a hedge on the play. I think we all know that Tyson Fury doesn't have Anthony Joshua's punch. I think we know Usyk's not going to stand around in range for Tyson Fury like Deontay Wilder did. I think we know that even with a scenario of Tyson Fury winning the fight, that won't happen unless it's by decision or in the later rounds. So now you can throw down a hedge. You already have beaten current odds. Usyk is never going to be getting the long odds that he got when this fight was first announced. So here's where you can drop a hedge, where you got Usyk at better than market, what the market currently is. Now you can hedge with Fury late or Fury by decision. Let's move along. You know, every old person with gray hair who you meet has unwanted advice for young people. They've learned certain things along the way that they want to share. Right? That old aunt of yours is going to be a chatty Cathy at times. Right? Younger people should take it as a compliment. It means the older person thinks that you have the potential to avoid some of the mistakes or some of the life lessons that it took the older person a long time to figure out. Well, what I found is that the best opportunities in life, and I mean the best, will just fall into your lap. You'll be seated in a club, and some beautiful woman is just going to walk over to you and start talking to you. And you're going to look at her and you're going to think to yourself, gee, what is going on here? You know, the two of you are going to have a great conversation. The two of you are going to have chemistry. You're going to be looking around the club and you're going to be thinking to yourself, gee, either I'm lucky or this scene is shady. Right? I want you to think about the idea that you're just being lucky because that's the way good things happen in life. Right? You're in a store. You're looking on the shelf. They're selling diamonds. And the price is 30% off what you thought it would be. And you're looking around and you're wondering if this is candid camera. You're thinking, no, it can't be this easy. You understand most of the people would leave the store because they want to follow a crowd. And they don't like the idea of being in a store by themselves even when the store is offering compelling value. Folks, let's think this through. I'm just telling you right now that that's exactly the situation for people who invest in silver. They're walking around. They look at their newspaper. They're online. They're trying to figure out, how is silver this cheap given all the inflation, all the debt? How's this possible? Now you have different groups out there. If you're not a risk taker, right? No risk it, no biscuit. You're going to think to yourself, you know, even though everything tells me that this is a compelling value, I'm going to wait until the group feels it's a compelling value. You have that group. Thank God for them. They make it possible for people like you and me. We're the group that actually says, well, hell, I've been following silver. This price is ridiculous. It's a bargain. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to buy some. Maybe I'll dollar cost average if I have suspicions, right? Buy a little bit today, come back tomorrow, buy a little bit tomorrow, come back, buy a little bit more. Right? In the crypto world, this is the group that right now is looking at L2 tokens, a type of token. I'm not going to get into details here. People know I have a Substack page, Dwyer70905.substack.com. Right? But understand, after Ethereum's upgrade, wow. If you're an L2 person, it's Christmas. Right? For some of them. Let me tell you, years ago, my dad fell in love with a team in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. he tried to sell me on it. The Niners didn't have a lot of big-time players. They had a coach who was odd. Right? Totally odd. They had a quarterback who really couldn't throw the ball deep. That coach was Bill Walsh, best coach I've ever come across in football in my life. The reason Pat Mahomes has 3 rings right now is because it's because Pat's coach, Andy Reid, is a disciple of Bill Walsh, right? The quarterback who couldn't throw deep is arguably the best quarterback I've ever seen play the game. A guy named Joe Montana, who was doing it at the time without Jerry Rice, without Roger Craig. They came later. He had guys like Freddie Solomon on the team. Niners would go on to win a Super Bowl. Now, I'm just telling you, those are the scenes you're looking for. You're in a room and the diamonds are 50% off. Right? You're in a room and a lot of people have left it because they've lost faith in diamonds. Right? Diamonds have fallen out of favor for some reason. And you're there in the store by yourself, or you're in the betting line by yourself, and you're going to bet on a guy who's unpopular. Let's revisit Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou. Ngannou, of course, comes out left-handed, right? He's aspiring. He's aspirational, right? This is the risk taker. This is the guy who's new to boxing, and he's going to do high-risk things against champions, Tyson Fury, former champions, Anthony Joshua, right, that non-risk takers wouldn't dream of doing. Right? It didn't work out for him against Anthony Joshua, but I applaud Ngannou. Now, I made an earlier video where I talked about how Ngannou needed to park his left hand to guard against his chin, right? Or he had to do a Joe Parker, we'll call it. And I need for folks to watch Parker carefully here, because he's having a Hall of Fame run. He's fighting big-time competition that most people don't want to fight. You know, I feel Deontay Wilder's a Hall of Famer, right? Wilder's big mistake against Parker was being a bit too rusty, right? The Wilder who fought Parker had been inactive for a period of time, right? Zhili Zhang, I give Parker credit, right? Parker, after fighting a hard-hitting righty, was bold enough to fight a hard-hitting lefty. And Parker is fluid, where he can hang around Wilder's left side, he could hang around Zhang's right side in consecutive fights. Right? Ngannou needed to be fluid like that against Anthony Joshua, who, to his credit, is taking chances here. Right? Yet another trainer, he's moving around. That last KO, he has his left hand here as if he's going to, lead with it. Doesn't. Comes across with the big right hand yet again. Right now, it's the little things in life that lead to big results. Right? You want to lose weight, you have to give up the soda. You understand that. Well, let me just point out that Ngannou has another way he could have done much better against Anthony Joshua. If he didn't want to park his left, right? And that has a big assumption attached. The assumption is that his left is not his dominant hand. It might be. I know he has a long history in MMA, but he's coming out southpaw for a reason against Anthony Joshua. Right? What I want Ngannou to do is to look at films. In fact, really, everyone in the sport should look at films of Floyd Mayweather. Right? Mayweather is one of the absolute best defensive fighters I've seen. In terms of defense, I do place Pernell Whitaker, who was spectacular defensively, on par with Floyd Mayweather. Right? Different type of defense. Right? Pernell could drop his hands and still duck under your hooks. Mayweather, different personality. Mayweather's wearing body armor. He's thought about things. Mayweather didn't have to be the athlete that Pernell Whitaker was. Understand, when you have defense like Whitaker, it doesn't age well. Older Mayweather could make mistakes, but because he's wearing body armor, the punch is still landing on his shoulder. Mayweather could default into a defensive shell. Pernell didn't quite have that defensive shell, right? Pernell was more Mike Tyson, relying on reflexes, as opposed to Mayweather, who's literally relying on a protocol, right? Well, understand, Mayweather, in addition to having a shoulder up, and I'm not expecting a new guy like Ngannou to come in the ring and intuitively have a shoulder up and figure out the angles, right? If Mayweather were the same size as Anthony Joshua, Mayweather would destroy Joshua. Mayweather would be in front of Joshua, and Joshua would have nothing to hit, right? Well, understand, another thing Mayweather did, apart from having the shoulder up, was Mayweather has his right hand, and he's a righty, on this side of his chin. In other words, Mayweather has layers of defense. Now, if Ngannou had just put his right hand on this side of his chin, he wouldn't need great reflexes. He'd have that Joshua right hand chin shot blocked. So the crowd right now is leaving the Ngannou store. They don't realize that this guy remains one of the compelling bargains in boxing. I'm not saying he should leapfrog a very deep heavyweight division to be anyone's mandatory at 0-2. Right? I think there are a list of heavyweights who have had careers that to me makes them, at the front of the line, more so than Ngannou, right? But what I am saying to you is don't run out the store, folks. Ngannou's next fight, you need to assume, and I mean this, that a guy bold enough to throw left hooks on Tyson Fury, to go southpaw on Tyson Fury, a guy bold enough to go southpaw against Anthony Joshua in the first round of their match, right? You need to assume that a guy like this is going to be bold enough to continue to improve, right? His big problem here is Anthony Joshua's right hand. He's naked, right? He has his left in limbo. So Joshua understands, if I can just throw that right hand over his left, I can hurt this guy. Joshua also is unique because Joshua, number one, blessed puncher. Right? You have a lot of guys in the heavyweight division who, even if they landed what Joshua landed, wouldn't drop Ngannou. Right? Joshua, blessed puncher. Right? But Joshua also has ring coverage. In other words, it's that Wilder thing. You look at him and you say, he's too far away. He can't hit me with that punch. Then, bap! You're on the canvas, confused, hurt, down. Right? A lot of guys don't have the ring coverage. What I want Ngannou to do, because this guy's underrated, I keep mentioning him, he's a blueprint guy for me, is look at George Foreman. Right? George Foreman had that Archie Moore defense. Foreman's important because Foreman wasn't a freak athlete. He didn't have the fastest hands. He relied on a protocol. Right? Mayweather, by the way, was extremely dangerous because Mayweather was the freak athlete who had the defensive protocol. Right? So Mayweather's an outlier. Right? Freak athlete who decides he's going to learn defense. He's going to be able to hide his body, hide his head, force you to go through a shoulder, then go through a hand and go through his head movement, his ability to roll away from punches. Now, again, that's a master. We're not expecting that from a newbie, but understand, Ngannou, after a life of professional prize fighting, right? Most of it spent in MMA, but it's still professional prize fighting. He's been in the ring with professional athletes in fighting matches. A guy like Ngannou understands the value of making adjustments, right? All he has to do, he has the punching power, folks. All he has to do is to continue to improve. He has the punch. He just has to figure out how to avoid things like a Joshua right hand. Right now is not the time to leave the building on Ngannou. Let's talk about Joshua's style too. And let's figure this out. Right? I know Johnny Nelson, great fighter by the way, don't look at these older guys as just boxing commentators, right? Folks need to understand that when they see a Johnny Nelson, when they see a Paulie Malignaggi, and the guys are giving interviews on fights and they're offering their perspectives, a Carl Froch, they're doing so after careers where they themselves were in the ring with world-class competition. Right now, Johnny Nelson is saying that what Anthony Joshua has done would make him arguably the favorite over Tyson Fury. Now keep in mind, Fury already has turned into the underdog, slight underdog, but an underdog, something that was unthinkable 18 months ago against Usyk. Right now we're hearing that Joshua, who's moving more, I concede that, who is a blessed puncher, we always knew that, would have the edge against Tyson Fury. To that I say, not so fast. A lot of people have left the Fury store. Right? You're in the Tyson Fury store. He's an unbeaten champion. You would even question the draw, supposedly, against Deontay Wilder. Right? He loses 2 rounds in that fight, folks. The 2 rounds where he hit the canvas. Right? Wins 10. Okay, you want to subtract 2. Wins 8 rounds. Should have won that fight, in my opinion. People are fleeing the Fury store because, of course, he got knocked down by a guy in his first pro fight. Right? And, of course, people are looking at Fury and they're saying, wow, enough of the excuses. I don't know what Fury's handlers are doing, but there was a time where Fury was demanding an immediate fight with Anthony Joshua. That was suspect. There was a time where Fury's negotiating with Usyk. He offers Usyk a low split. Usyk says, okay, I'll take the low split. Then that fight doesn't happen. I think the fans sense a champion who isn't eager to take on big-time competition, but wants to give the public impression that he's ready to fight Joshua, he's ready to fight Usyk. This is while he's not daring getting near a ring or even near an arena in which a Zhili Zhang is or a Martin Bakole is. Understand, too, he's sparring behind the scenes with a lot of these guys. Joe Parker's a big friend of his, but yet he's not going to get in the ring with Joe Parker. Right? That's kind of the feeling right now on Tyson Fury. Let me just say this. And keep in mind, I myself have said here online, I'm saying it now, that Usyk's the betting side of the play. Fury's going to have major problems with Usyk. Right? I don't give Tyson Fury the edge in his fight against Usyk. Right? But let me just say this. Anthony Joshua is still, to me, the type of fighter who a Tyson Fury dominates. As we start fleeing the Tyson Fury store, I want people to remember the Derek Chisora fight. That's not that long ago. Right? Fury completely dominates Derek Chisora, doesn't he? completely dominates him. Now, granted, it's the third time he's seen Derek Chisora, but understand, a Derek Chisora is an active fighter, higher volume than Anthony Joshua, right? The type of boxer who is going to give this version, and it's a new version, of Anthony Joshua problems, right? And again, Joshua is a guy who's now using his legs for defense. He has his hands cocked. He didn't want the advice of a Robert Garcia who wanted him more in the pocket. He didn't want the advice of a Derek James who wanted him thinking of defense. And in a fight, only entering the pocket when he anticipated what his opponent was going to throw and had defensive answers for them. Right now, this is a free-flowing guy. This is the musician who wants to be a jazz musician. Right? This is the musician who wants to riff. So he has his hands ready. He knows he's a blessed puncher. You throw on him. If the punch you're throwing on him is not a punch that can put him down, he'll take it so he can throw his big shot. He wants to be in position. The type of fighter who would give this version of Anthony Joshua problems is an Ali, a Larry Holmes, today a Frank Sanchez. Right? These are the guys who say, okay, you want to drive faster than 55, player, I'm your Huckleberry. Right? Larry Holmes at his best could move with you, move better than you, quite frankly, could move with you. He's pumping a jab. Right? The deal he's making with you is, okay, player, I'm here. We're not low volume. I'm going to force you to do things. I don't want you standing in front of me, so I'm going to be throwing a 2x4 jab in your face, forcing you to react to what I'm doing. Let's add in feints, right? Ali, Prime Ali, who moved better than Larry Holmes, is going to start doing a lot of feints. He's going to be having you guessing. In other words, you're there, you want to keep your hands a certain way. Ali is going to show you that you can't do that against hand speed and combinations. Right, folks? Frank Sanchez, in one of the more important fights style-wise of this current era, fought Efe Ajagba. Right? Ajagba, blessed puncher. One of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division. Spectacular straight right hand. But he's wooden. He's not fluid. Right, folks? He could not handle Frank Sanchez's speed of fighting. Frank Sanchez's movement. Right? He could not handle it. Now the question, and it's a big question, I don't have the answer for it. Tyson Fury in his mid-30s, right? Does he still have his legs? If he has the legs that he had against Vladimir Klitschko, he beats Anthony Joshua rather easily in my eyes. If he doesn't have the legs because he's been able to fight fighters who don't move that well. Deontay Wilder does not move that well. Derek Chisora is a bit predictable. Right? Derek Chisora wants to crash the pocket. You understand that. Right? Chisora keeps coming at you to the point where David Haye was able to time him and end the night early. Right? The question is whether Tyson Fury still has the feints in the lateral movement. Because if he does, then you won't be able to fight the fight that Anthony Joshua has been fighting under Ben Davison and be successful. Joshua won't be able to constantly have his hands cocked and just move his legs. That is not going to work. It's a style thing. Today, while I question Tyson Fury against Usyk, I'd still take Tyson Fury over Joshua. Those are my thoughts in this video. Let me also make another point too. Martin Bakole. Right? Now I'm mentioning names because Joshua is old school now. He's fighting more. He understands that by fighting more, he's getting his timing sharper and sharper. Right? Fighting more helps an Anthony Joshua an awful lot. So Joshua is going to be picking opponents. Martin Bakole's style is unusual. He's a long-range hooker. In other words, you're accustomed to a mid-range hooker. Here's a guy who, again, you look at, he has ring coverage. You look at him, look at the Tony Yoka fight. Yoka doesn't know what he's in against. Big guy like this, throwing hooks from long range that are accurate. You look at him and you say, he's too far away to hit me with that whack. Then he comes back with the other hand. Whack, whack. If you can't handle this guy's ring coverage, this guy's accuracy with long hooks, you're going to have problems. Now, there is a path to victory for Joshua against Bakole because Bakole is not defensively blessed. If I know the right hook is coming, and if I'm a blessed puncher who can shoot straight, like Anthony Joshua, then I could block. I have to do a Derek James here. I can block the right hook on the way in. Then I can counter with my own home run shot. Right? But understand, folks, Martin Bakole gives this version of Anthony Joshua all he can handle, as would Frank Sanchez. As would another looper, Filip Ergovic. Right? Recognize that the heavyweight part of the pool is deeper today than most divisions. I don't care what the age is. On Luis Ortiz's birth certificate. Just like we don't care what the actual age was on Sonny Liston's birth certificate. Right? Liston may have been the, well, let's just say, Liston may have given Foreman a run for the money as oldest heavyweight champ ever. Right? Luis Ortiz, southpaw, who can be slick, who knows how to box, who is excellent deep in the pocket, who can actually follow you, at least in the early rounds. He does get tired, but who these days does have defensive lapses. That was Luis Ortiz getting off the canvas against Charles Martin. That was Luis Ortiz getting off the canvas against Andy Ruiz. He would be an excellent match for Anthony Joshua. Right, let's just say Joshua is compelling. He's the ultimate litmus test for many fighters. So to sum up here, Francis Ngannou remains a threat in the heavyweight division. This is the guy who is learning on the job, who is a risk taker. He knows his homework assignment, right? No doubt he himself has watched the film of himself against Anthony Joshua, and he knows his current homework assignment is avoid straight right hands, right? He gets dropped multiple times by Joshua off right hands. He knows, I got to work on this, right, folks? He's still an athlete. I wouldn't give up, and I know Ben Davison disagrees with me, and I know Ngannou's 37. Okay, I would not give up going southpaw. It's a valuable weapon. You know that just looking at Terence Crawford, right? Crawford, think about it. Southpaw who's fighting righty. That's a big part of Crawford. If I'm Ngannou, I keep taking risks, but I also keep doing my homework. Right? The last lesson he learned was you need to have some defensive strategy for straight right hands against blessed punchers. Right, folks? If he can improve on those things, he's going to be a force. Also, Ngannou, 37, he's a youngin'. He's a young guy compared to people like Zhili Zhang, Luis Ortiz. Folks, remember Dwyer's law of relativity. Einstein has nothing on us. And it's that heavyweights age more slowly. Right? If casual fans are afraid of betting on 37-year-olds, great. That's more beer for me. I have no life has taught me that when you're in a store and the diamonds are 30% off and everyone's running for the exits because there's not enough of a crowd for them to follow, hell, I'll buy a few diamonds. Right? I'll provide the market for the casino. I'll be the casino's huckleberry. Right, folks? The heavyweight division is deeper than you think. Tyson Fury remains one of the more skilled heavyweights we've seen. Right? He has a problem. He has more of a problem with the Steve Cunninghams of the world than he does the Dillian Whites of the world. Right? Than he would, in my opinion, the Anthony Joshuas of the world. If you want to see a guy who would give a Fury a hard time, right, look at Usyk. Look at Filip Hrgovic. Those are my thoughts today. Let me hear from you. Let me hear yours in the comment section of this YouTube video. Let me also make another point too. Right, and this is foundational. I've been into crypto for a little bit, and a cryptocurrency that's overlooked, right, and great, more bit for me, called Dash, came up with a concept called a masternode. Now, Dash is one of these funny coins. Dash also has coin governance, where you, the regular Dash person, actually gets to vote on some proposals. So the Dash community is debuting a masternode concept. I was a member of the Dash community. I was excited owning Dash. I thought this masternode concept is just going to take the world of crypto by storm. Being able to stake a crypto was just going to take the crypto world by storm. Then the masternode dropped, right? It debuted. And the price of Dash did nothing. It was flat. So if you were a Dash person, you were in the Dash store with mind-blowing technology. Folks, it was mind-blowing. And the world was not there. They did not get the concept. Understand, Dash had turnover. Dash actually had a DAO. It's one of the earliest DAOs. And people left the project. And you know what happened next. The masternode concept took off. Right? The Ethereum crowd thinks they're clever now because they're staking Ethereum. That's, the authorities who were asleep when Dash gave the crypto world really one of the biggest legs it has to stand on. Right? Even the slow-moving authorities realized we have to do something about staking. Right? Understand the Securities and Exchange Commission here in the United States then started calling Dash a security. Right, folks? Staking now is one of the biggest things in crypto. It's one of the biggest reasons why crypto is going to ultimately supplant traditional finance. I don't want to get too far ahead here. Let me just say, if you're in a place and they're rolling out groundbreaking technology, and you know it's groundbreaking technology, you've got to break with the crowd. You've got to buy the diamonds at 30% off. Right? You have folks out there who realize they're in that situation right now with silver. right? Gold too, but silver really compelling value. Just food for thought to keep in mind as we go forward in trying to find the diamonds that are 30% off. Those are my thoughts on March the 14th, 2024. Let me hear yours in the comments section of this now 40-minute YouTube video. Thanks for stopping by.